and welcome back, or if you are new here, hello and welcome. My name is Leah. Thank you so much for joining me here today. For today's video, I'm going to be talking about makeup products in my collection that remind me of other YouTubers, makeup memories, so to speak. These aren't necessarily items that I purchased because of other YouTubers or a YouTube made me buy it type of video. These are more along the lines of when I use these products, pretty much every time I think about other content creators and their influence on me, on why I have it, or just a certain memory kind of attached to it. So I just thought it would be kind of neat to maybe a kind of a different spin on the YouTube made me buy it. Again, most of these things weren't bought because of other content creators. I mean, they might have been from other content creators, but not the ones that I'm mentioning. In some cases, it might have been. I'm rambling. I'm sorry. Anyway, I just thought it would be an interesting idea and kind of a spin on the YouTube made me buy it thing. So let's get started. Now, the first thing that made me kind of think of this video was this palette here by the one who shall not be mentioned by her name, but KVD, but it was bought when it was by the other person, not the new branding of it. Anyway, if you've been here for like 5 minutes or longer on YouTube, you know what I'm talking about, and the brand. Anyway, KVD Beauty. I bought this a few years ago, and I bought this. I was kind of on the fence of it. In case you aren't sure what it is, the Alchemist palette, it looks like this. They're like duochrome highlighters. They all have a different shift to them. We have green emerald, blue sapphire, ultraviolet amethyst, and pink opal, and they all kind of have that shift that goes with their name. So I was kind of humming and hawing about it because I'm like, do I really need a highlighter palette with these different shifts in them? And I wanted it, but I also kind of was like, I knew me. I'm not going to use it for highlighters. But then I saw Lauren May Beauty talking about this, and she was talking about how it transforms eyeshadows, and she can use it on top of like a dark eyeshadow and it transforms it, or she uses it on top of light eyeshadow and it can transform it. So that was kind of the cincher for me. So every time I see this palette, I mean, truth be told, I don't actually use it that often because I'm not one to actually top my eyeshadows with this sort of thing. I'd rather just have an eyeshadow that is like multi-chromed and does it for me. But back in the day, multi-chrome shadows were virtually unheard of. And so this would have been a good way to kind of get that effect. So I purchased it, and every time I open my drawer, I do think of Lauren May Beauty, and not in a negative way. It just reminds me of, oh yeah, that's how I can use this palette. And yeah, that's why this has a makeup memory with Lauren. So the next item that I have is the Maybelline Superstay Full Coverage Under Eye Concealer, and this is in the shade Light Medium 18. This has a makeup memory attached to Kat from Cat's Eye Beauty, and it's kind of a YouTube made me buy it type of thing on this one as well, but not really. I had heard many people talking about this concealer. Most people really enjoyed it, but the thing that kind of makes it a memory that sticks to Kat for this particular purpose is she oftentimes reviews concealers and foundations for a more mature audience and everything, and I'm always looking for something that is going to not make my under eyes look creepy and, you know, age me or anything like that. And so oftentimes I'm like, oh, I want to pick that up and I want to try that out and that sort of thing. And even though I would really like to try out everything that she tries out that she says is good, I don't have the finances to do that, and you know what, it would be wasteful on my part to do that. But this is one that I really wanted to try, and I actually picked up. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's one of the ones I actually got that Kat recommended, because yeah, there's so many of them that like there's a list, and this one managed to finagle its way onto my Amazon cart and I picked it up. So, or maybe it was Shoppers Drug Mart. It got into some online cart and came to my house after I paid for it. I didn't steal it. But yeah, every time I use this, I think of Kat, because I'm like, oh, that's the one that I actually got. I actually picked one up. The next item that I have is the Caviar by Benefit Cosmetics. It is a brow pomade, if you aren't familiar with it. It is in the shade 3. This is the full-size version of it. It does have like a little brush on the top that snaps in and out. And I really do like this product. I have heard people raving about this for years, and it was something I always wanted to pick up, especially in the mini size, because I mean, it's about half the price for the mini, but it was something I never really got around to. It was something I wasn't sure what shade I was going to need or anything. But one day, to my my delight, I went on Instagram and I saw that I was tagged by Breakups to Makeup, and I had won one of her giveaways, and inside the beautiful box of goodies that I received was this Caviar from Benefit, and I have to say I really do love this. I'm trying to use it up in Project Pan It. If I purchase it again, or when I purchase it again, because I do like it, I'm going to get the mini just because I had to add some oil to it in order to loosen it up a bit to use it up more. And if I do get it, I'll probably get a shade lighter. This shade does work for me. However, I can go very heavy-handed with it and make my brows look very, very dark if I'm not careful. So, and just more darker than what I'm comfortable with. So yeah, every time I use this, I think of Dimitra from Breakups to Makeup, and yeah, it makes me happy to think, hey, I won something. The next item that I have is not the only thing that has a makeup memory to me, but I figured I'd pick one. So I have a BFF, a dear friend here on YouTube. Her name is Julia from Julia's Beauty, and she has sent me a few goodies over the last year or so. And this is one of the items that she sent me, and I adore and have memories with everything that she sent, but I really do like this foundation. This isn't one that I can get here. It's the Durmacol Caviar Long Stay Makeup and Corrector. Truth be told, I always forget about the concealer on the top, but this foundation is super nice. I really like it, and every time I see it in my drawer or I go to use it, I can start using it again now, yay, because my summer tan is kind of gone, so this will match me better. But I always think of Julia whenever I use this, and it brings happy memories of a friendship that I have, someone I talk to often outside of YouTube, and yeah, it makes me happy, and it has good makeup memories attached to it. The next two items are kind of like grouped together, and they are these two Natasha Denona mini palettes. I have the Natasha Denona Star palette and the Natasha Denona Mini Retro palette. I have these two palettes, and whenever I see them in my drawer or go to use them, I think of Journey in Beauty, Kyra. And the reason why I think of them is because she really likes both of these palettes. And for me, I despise this palette. This was my first introduction to Natasha Denona, and I did a review on it when I first got it, I think like 2 years ago now, a year and a half maybe. I can't even remember. I've had it for a while. I'm not a fan of this palette and the formula in it. And it was my first introduction to Natasha Denona, and I really kind of got my nose bent out of shape because of this and the price of most things she has and the quality and consistency and that sort of thing. But Kyra, she really likes this palette as she does this one. So whenever I see these, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the palette that Kyra likes that I don't. And then we both agree that this is like a fantastic palette. So well done, Natasha, on this one. Yeah, still a bit bitter about this one, and it just goes to show, and that'll happen another time, at least once in the products that I have here, but it just goes to show some things will work for some people wonderfully and other things won't, and that's the nature of makeup. But yeah, these both make me think of Kyra, one because of the fondness we both share, and one because we have very opposite feelings on one too. So up next is the BH Cosmetics Zodiac palette. This is an eyeshadow palette, and again, I have heard many people talk about this. This isn't something that is easily accessible in Canada. In order to ship BH Cosmetics to Canada, it can be quite pricey. But sometimes you can find these at Winners. Dolly Mama Beauty always raved about this product, and she's not wrong. Every time I've used it, I've loved the looks I have, and I don't know that I would have necessarily picked it up when I saw it if it wasn't for her talking about it all the time. Again, I've heard other people talking about it, but because it was kind of out of my grasp on being able to get it affordably, I never really thought about it. But when I saw this at Winners, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pick that up. Dolly Mama Beauty raves about it, and it sounds good. And so now every time I see this palette in my collection or go to use it, it makes me think of Dolly Mama Amy, because of her love for it and her love for like BH Cosmetic shadows in general. But yeah. The next item is the Plumpliner Lip Liner from Buxom, and this is specifically in the shade Incognito. Now, I purchased this because of Vintage or Tacky. I had been watching one of her videos, and she was using it, and she was talking about how much she loved it and how beautiful the shade was and everything, and what she said about the quality of it and everything, that was great. And so it's kind of a YouTube made me buy it case here. So the thing is, Vintage or Tacky has more of a fair skin complexion, whereas I am more of a light closer to medium, depending on the time of the year, skin complexion. This does not look good on me all the time. It does not look the same on me like it does on her. And again, it's a reminder to me whenever I see it to Leah. Be aware of skin tones of the people that you are watching and how it will look on them, because I mean, it doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look like what it looked like on her. And I probably wouldn't have bought it. I know I wouldn't have bought it if I had seen what it looked like on me ahead of time. But yeah, so this has a memory. It's not a bad memory. It's just like a, Leah, pay attention kind of memory to it. So yeah. The next items that I have here aren't specifically the products themselves, but the brands again. And I have the Marcelle face powder here, and I have the Annabelle Eye Primer. And again, it's not the products that make me think of this person, but the brands, Marcelle and Annabelle. Anytime that I see these products in my collection or go to use them, they make me think of Mel C's Beauty and Style. I believe that's her channel. But it makes me think of her because I wasn't aware of this, and I mean, when I think about it now, I'm like, okay, that makes complete sense. So Mel often uses the brand Lise Watier, and she had mentioned in one of her videos that Annabelle and Marcelle are both like sister companies of, or related somehow to the Lise Watier brand, which makes sense. Lise Watier is more the higher end, Marcelle is more the mid-range, and then we have Annabelle, which is a little bit lower. So yeah, I didn't realize that, and it was like a learning moment, and so now every time I see these items in my collection, because I don't have any Lise Watier, that would make me think of Mel too, but I don't have any, but these items make me think of her, because I'm like, oh yeah, Lise Watier, Mel, oh yeah. The last item that I have is actually, again, part of a brand, but a line of things that they have. So I'm talking about ColourPop and their eyeshadows. And the memory I have with this and any other ColourPop eyeshadow that I basically have, and I think of this person every time, is that girl Shea. Even before they started coming out with these palettes, when they just had the Super Shock shadows in the pots, she was someone that did swatches of them, but she did them on her eyes, and I would always feel so sorry for her because she would get a whole collection, and you know, her eyes would sometimes look a little irritated and a little bit red by the time she was done filming the videos and everything, but she still put them up, and it was just a great way to get a good perspective on what the shadows actually look like and how they perform and that sort of thing. I really enjoy watching her eye swatches, even if I have no intention of getting one of the palettes. This is just the latest one that I currently have. And the other thing is that I didn't realize is ColourPop, and I mean, people get upset with it, but they sometimes have, I think there's one in this one. They have, I forget what they're called. She knows all the exact names, like the Super Shock and the Matte and like whatever they call them, the metallic, and they have different names for the different formulas of eyeshadows they have. But they have the one that's matte, but it always has the sprinkles, the sparkle in it. So she actually shows how to use the mattes with sparkle. So she always puts them on her eye normal and then blends it, and then she says take your finger and just pat on the color on top and you get that sparkle to stay. Sometimes these like matte shadows with the sparkle in them look really pretty in the pan, but you're like, what is the point of that? I mean, I know some people say brands sometimes put it in so that shadows are more blendable and that sort of thing, but in this case, ColourPop does it on purpose, and they actually have a, you know, it does work when you know how to use them. So whenever I see my ColourPop shadows in my collection, it always makes me think of that girl Shea and her swatch videos. And again, a learning and teaching moment for me, because I figured out how to use some of the things. Even the Super Shock shadows in the pans, I have a hard time with them sometimes, but you know, when you watch her videos, she kind of talks about how she gets them to work, or sometimes she'll be like, yeah, compared to other shadows, that one's maybe not the best, so you know not to maybe waste your time as much with trying to make something work, because she's so familiar with their formulas. She kind of knows which ones are dead, so that's kind of nice too. But yeah, I think of that girl Shea when I see my ColourPop shadows in my collection. And those are a few items in my collection that have specific content creators kind of memories attached to them. Does that make sense? Anyway, you get what I'm saying, I hope. Let me know in the comments below if you have any items in your collection that kind of invoke memories from certain YouTube and content creators here. It would be interesting to hear those stories and to learn about that. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.